You can almost taste the electricity in the air when two teams come together for a joint practice, and Tuesday's session between Baltimore and Indianapolis was no exception. From the moment the Ravens took the field, there was a palpable sense that this was more than just another day of drills. It was an audition. Expectations in Charm City are sky high, a roster brimming with talent, including a league most valuable player at quarterback and a Pro Bowl tight end anchored by a future Hall of Famer, all primed and ready to stake another claim for supremacy. Yet against a Colts squad pegged as middle of the pack, at best the Ravens felt anything but dominant, weaving together flashes of brilliance with mid-level meh moments that left fans and coaches alike scratching their heads. When you lines are 180 helmets on the grass, 90 on each side. Anything can happen, and here it unfolded like a compressed version of the season to come. In one breath, you might glimpse the precision timing that makes Baltimore's offense so lethal. Lamar Jackson dropping dimes over the shoulder of his tight ends or zipping a bullet to his favorite wide receiver on a wheel route. A few snaps later, you could find the same unit stumbling over pass protection, giving an edge rusher the kind of free run that in a competitive game would translate to a sack or hurry throw. It was clear that the line with all its veteran presence still has work to do to fully click into gear. There were moments when the interior held firm opening seams for the running back to exploit, and others when a false step or miscommunication invited chaos in the pocket. That inconsistency, more than anything, underscored the mixed bag of the day, promising developments, peppered with reminders that even the most seasoned group can have off moments when there's no external penalty to keep them in check. But the true headline, the one that everyone on social media couldn't stop asking about, was the melee that erupted during a special teams rep. The gunner on the punt coverage took his assignment to heart-surging downfield with reckless abandon. And when the returner made contact a hair later than expected, sparks flew. What began as a shove quickly escalated into a full-blown scrum, and before anyone could blink, rookie cornerback Nate Wiggins had darted into the fray like a man with a mission, throwing punches that looked more appropriate for a boxing ring than a practice field. Coaches and teammates, scrambled assistant coaches dashed in, trying to separate bodies tangled in a WWE-style tangle near the end zone, and within minutes, Wiggins and his opponent from Indianapolis were shown the door. It was a learning moment wrapped in raw emotion, a reminder that edge and intensity are priceless commodities but must be tempered by discipline, especially when the stakes of real games loom large. Watching that pileup of jerseys and helmets, you understood instantly why head coaches preach composure. Under fire on game day, a punch thrown in anger can mean ejection. A swing that alters the outcome of a contest no one wins. Away from the dust-up. The offense came alive in spurts. In 7-on-7 work, there was no offensive line, just quarterbacks and receivers threading routes across the field, and the rhythm felt nostalgic of 2 seasons ago when the group operated with telepathic synchronicity. Jackson split the safeties with a perfectly placed shot on a post route that resulted in a touchdown catch, and on another rep, he read the zone, paused it in his drop, and rifled a back shoulder throw that looked like something drawn up on a chalkboard in the film room. Yet those moments of finesse were balanced by missteps. A deep ball floated too long, giving a corner the window to undercut, and a checkdown play where a running back hesitated just a beat too late, allowing a defensive back to punch the ball away. It felt almost unfair that a team with so much firepower would be held in check at times by itself, battling mental errors and fine-tuning the kind of split-second decisions that separate good from great. On the flip side, the defense demonstrated why expectations for them are near the top of the league. Linebackers flew to the ball with purpose and gap integrity, forcing running backs to the perimeter where pursuing defenders wrapped them up before they could escape. The secondary, led by veterans who have seen it all, blanketed routes with the kind of smooth, disciplined coverage that makes quarterbacks think twice before pushing the ball downfield. There were instances when Colts receivers created separation, reminding us that no defense is perfect, but overall the unit looked like the ironclad foundation it has been for years. In red zone scenarios, the Ravens' defense stiffened, bending only to force a field goal try, and the energy each defender brought to the huddle carried throughout the next series, setting the tone for teammates. Of course, individual standouts emerged. A burgeoning edge rusher displayed the bend and burst that had scouts drooling during spring workouts, dipping his shoulder and exploding off the snap before a tackle could even register his intentions. Across the line, a rookie blocker flashed toughness, stonewalling one of Indianapolis's best bull rushers to keep his quarterback clean for a critical third and medium conversion. At tight end, the second-year pass catcher stepped in for an injured teammate, snagging a back shoulder throw and powering through contact for an impressive gain when he could have easily gone down. Those moments felt like peeks at what the season might hold, glimpses of the players ready to define emerging roles and cement their places on this roster. Yet for all the highlights, what hung over the entire practice was the sense that Baltimore never quite put his foot on the gas. Never sustained the level of play demanded of a team carrying championship aspirations. Turnovers in drills, false starts, and a handful of miscommunications added up to a practice that, where graded, would land at a solid but unspectacular grade. A C feels about right, acknowledging that no catastrophic mistakes endanger the core goals for the day, but also recognizing that this group with its collective pedigree should be delivering at least a few A performances when the lights are on, even if those lights are still just practice ones. And so this first glimpse of joint preparation leaves more questions than answers. Will the offensive line find its cohesion before meaningful snaps count? Can Lamar Jackson trust his protections enough to unlock the full range of his arsenal will? The defense continued to sharpen its edges, turning strong showings in practice into game-changing plays on Sundays. And most pressingly, can the team harness the fire that sparked the altercation on the punt unit and channel it into consistent intensity rather than momentary flare-ups? Those are the storylines that will follow the Ravens through training camp and into the regular season, and as fans will be watching closely for each turning point. With that, the next chapter of this unfolding narrative is primed to reveal who steps forward and who still needs to prove themselves. There is grit in this roster, undeniable talent from top to bottom, and a culture that prizes toughness. What remains is to fine-tune the details, align the focus, and transform occasional sparks into an unbroken blaze of excellence. The drama, the suspense, the triumphs and stumbles, they're all lined up waiting for the curtain to rise on week one. Shifting into the nitty-gritty of who left that practice looking like a star in the making and who might be sweating. A little more under the lights, the first name that jumps off the field has to be Mike Green. There's something magnetic about the way he exploded around the edge on that third down rep. His footwork was almost balletic, yet every bit as punishing as the hits he laid on the Colts tackles. You could see the frustration on Indianapolis' sideline as their right tackle tried to reset after getting shook at the line, and you could feel the ripple of excitement wash through the Ravens' defensive huddle when Green came off the field wiping grass off his jersey. In a day of mixed results, his relentless motor stood out as a reminder that the Ravens' edge rotation might be even deeper than anyone realized. When a single play can inject that much energy into a unit, you know you've got a guy who can flip the momentum of an entire series, maybe an entire game. Not far behind him in the wow column was Charlie Kolar. Every time the Ravens dialed up a too tight end set, Kolar seemed to find a soft spot in the defense, slipping past linebackers with the smooth agility of a veteran receiver rather than a second-year pass catcher finding his way. On one seam route, he snagged a fade throw and turned on the afterburners for what should have been a 50-yard gain had it not been a walkthrough drill. In a season where Isaiah Likely's status remains uncertain, seeing Kolar track down a ball, secure it with both hands, and then run through a soft arm tackle without losing balance was a major affirmation that he's ready for a heavier workload. It wasn't a flash in the pan either. Throughout practice, he ran crisp patterns, attacked the ball in the air, and showed the kind of spatial awareness between sticks that makes a quarterback feel confident targeting him in tight windows. On special teams, Tyler Linderbaum's snaps were as precise as surgeons' incisions. 20 yards back, boots were dropping exactly where they needed to for those 7-for-7 makes by the rookie kicker, and each time Linderbaum delivered the ball, it was a perfect spiral that snapped through the holder's fingers. The rhythm between snap, hold, and kick is so subtle that most fans don't realize how much hinges on the center's execution. But watching Linderbaum work under the scrutiny of joint practice intensity, when Colts defenders were crashing the same operation like hungry wolves, he never rushed, never sloppily fired it off. That's a huge boost, not just for special teams morale, but for an offense that can't afford botched holds in a 3-point game. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Odafe Owe looked every bit the breakout candidate he's been teased. As in Wananones against the Colts' second-team tackle, he showed off a Refenspeben move that wasn't there last year, twisting out of a chip block and then steering his momentum back toward the quarterback with a terrifying burst of speed. Pass rush numbers in practice don't always translate to Sundays, but Owe paired that spin with a sidestep that left the defender gawking, and for just a brief moment, you saw the blueprint for how the Ravens might finally unlock the pass rush. Woes of seasons past. But every practice has its less sunny moments, and for Baltimore's offensive line, Tuesday's session was a reminder that cohesion isn't built overnight. At times, the guards looked like they were speaking different languages, fumbling handoffs, and opening lanes that would have swallowed up the running back for a 3-yard loss. On 3rd and long scenarios, the Colts stunts around the edge sniffed out protection breakdowns, and Lamar Jackson had to scramble earlier than he'd like. It's nothing that can't be ironed out. Film study and extra drills will help, but watching those reps live, you could almost hear the coaches' exasperated breaths as they scribbled notes on clipboards. The stars are there on that line, and the veteran presence is undeniable, but to truly reach elite status, they need a level of synchronization that still felt out of reach under the buzz of external competition. Receiver depth also flashed both promise and potholes. Zay Flowers made a few acrobatic grabs that had him high-stepping back to the huddle like he just scored a touchdown. But on the very next rep, he fought through a jam at the line, only to bobble a hitch-and-go throw in traffic. Those two plays captured the essence of his day-breathtaking potential, punctuated by the kind of mental lapse a rookie occasionally pays for on game film. Devin Duvernay, meanwhile, brought his usual grit to the return game fielding punts with sure hands and weaving through would-be tacklers on the way back, but struggled on a downfield blocking assignment, allowing a would-be gunner to slip around the edge and force a muff. Special teams require precision in every role, and even daylight mistakes and visual drills can cascade into bigger issues if they aren't corrected immediately. Inside the secondary, Kyle Hamilton operated like the Swiss Army knife the Ravens envisioned when they drafted him. He patrolled the seams, routed passing lanes with a preternatural sense for the quarterback's eyes, and even lined up in the slot for a few reps to disrupt crossing routes. There was one play where he dropped into a deep half zone, mirrored Colts tight end for 8 steps, and then broke on a laid out route to undercut a potential first down, hauling in an interception that would have made any defensive coordinator break into a grin. Is he flawless? Not yet. There was a coverage nuance on a quick slant that left just enough daylight for the Colts to convert a 3rd down, but the growth from last year's tentative snap judgments to this practiced razor-sharp anticipation was impossible to ignore. Special mention must go to the veterans who quietly anchored their units without fanfare. Marlon Humphrey patrolled the sidelines with the steely confidence that comes from years of Pro Bowl nods, subtly redirecting younger corners when they misread route stems. Pat Ricard chipped in everywhere from short yardage run blocks to heavy down. Fullback duties creating enough contact to disrupt the Colts linebackers. And Justin Tucker spent part of practice stepping into the booth to watch film on the Colts kickoff coverage, then strolling back out and drilling a 55-yard field goal like it was a chip shot. Those players might not have highlight reel moments to their names on Tuesday, but their stabilizing presence is what lets the up-and-comers take risks without destabilizing the entire unit. By the time the two teams parted ways, the narrative was clear. The Ravens have elite talent sprinkled across every phase, but they're still chasing the kind of consistent execution that turns potential into performance. The flash plays remind you of the heights this group can reach. The wobbling moments highlight the margins that could make or break them. In a week, they'll face another team in preseason action, and by then the coaches will want sharper pockets, crisper route fills, and a pulse-pounding pass rush that resembles the one Green and Owe teased. For now, the takeaway is that Baltimore is loaded with playmakers, players who can carry this franchise forward, but also laid bare the need to blend that star power into a single cohesive machine before the regular season's glare intensifies. The questions remain tantalizingly open. Can the trenches find their groove? Will the young receivers tame their nerves? And can the defense build on its momentum to become truly impenetrable? Those answers will arrive in the days ahead. But Tuesdays, joint practice has already given us a roadmap of where this team stands on the cusp, charged with raw energy and aching to translate every spark into sustained brilliance. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. A recent whirlwind of rumors and speculative chatter has set the NFL world abuzz as the Baltimore Ravens reportedly finalize a blockbuster deal with the Buffalo Bills, acquiring none other than star quarterback Josh Allen. While nothing has been officially confirmed by league sources, multiple insider whispers and anonymous leaks suggest that this unprecedented trade is in its final stages. If true, this move could drastically reshape the AFC landscape, instantly transforming the Ravens' offense into one of the most dynamic units in the league. Analysts and fans alike are already debating the potential implications, questioning how Baltimore's current roster will integrate with Allen's explosive play style and whether the team's coaching staff is prepared to maximize his unique skill set. Speculation also revolves around what the Bills would demand in return, likely involving a combination of draft picks and promising young talent. As the story develops, the possibility of this trade could mark a new chapter for both franchises, sparking excitement and uncertainty in equal measure. Reports from various corners of the NFL sphere have suggested that the Bills are seeking to bolster their defense or rebuild certain areas of their roster by leveraging Josh Allen's high market value. The rumors hint at Baltimore's willingness to part with significant assets, potentially including first-round draft picks and emerging players who have shown promise in recent seasons. The trade, if finalized, would not only grant the Ravens a franchise quarterback with a proven track record, but also send shockwaves through the league, prompting rival teams to reconsider their own strategies and roster configurations. Fans of both teams are closely monitoring social media and sports networks, with speculation running rampant about how quickly Allen will adapt to his new environment and what kind of offensive schemes the Ravens might employ to optimize his dual threat capabilities. The sheer magnitude of this rumored deal is fueling non-stop discussion among insiders, highlighting the ever-changing dynamics of NFL team building. Moreover, the timing of this potential trade has stirred up plenty of conjecture about the strategic motives behind it. Analysts are dissecting whether the Ravens front office views Josh Allen as the missing piece to their Super Bowl aspirations, or if this is a bold gamble to rejuvenate a team that has faced recent offensive struggles. The Bills, on their end, might be aiming to pivot towards a fresh rebuild phase, capitalizing on Allen's market value while they still can. Conversations in NFL circles speculate about the possible adjustments required in both teams' salary caps and how coaches will realign their game plans around new rosters. The excitement surrounding this potential swap is palpable, with pundits highlighting Allen's leadership qualities and how they might influence Baltimore's locker room culture. While official statements remain scarce, the incessant buzz from credible sources fuels anticipation for a trade that could redefine the 2025 NFL season's competitive balance. Adding to the fervor, insiders have been hinting at the ripple effects such a trade could have on player morale and team chemistry within both franchises. Speculation suggests that Baltimore's offense might become more electrifying, with Allen's arm strength and mobility opening up new play-calling possibilities for the Ravens coaching staff. Meanwhile, Buffalo's locker room may face a period of transition as they recalibrate their identity without their former star quarterback. Conversations among sports commentators highlight how this trade might impact fan engagement and ticket sales, with many supporters eager to witness Josh Allen's debut in purple and black. The narrative of this potential trade has evolved into a captivating saga, with each new piece of information adding layers to the mystery. Whether or not this deal ultimately comes to fruition, the buzz it has generated speaks volumes about the NFL's ever-shifting landscape, and the hunger for marquee transactions. In conclusion, the swirling rumors of a trade between the Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills involving Josh Allen have ignited a firestorm of discussion, anticipation, and strategic analysis throughout the football world. As speculation continues, the potential benefits for both teams remain a hot topic, with Baltimore seemingly poised to gain a franchise quarterback capable of elevating their offense, and Buffalo possibly preparing to retool with fresh talent. Fans, analysts, and insiders are all eagerly awaiting official confirmation, knowing full well that a deal of this magnitude could reverberate across the league for years to come. Until then, the NFL community remains captivated by the possibilities, crafting scenarios and debating the outcomes of what might be one of the most significant trades in recent memory. Whether a finalized agreement emerges or the rumors prove premature, the chatter surrounding Josh Allen's future with the Ravens will undoubtedly continue to dominate headlines in the coming weeks. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.